Hi everyone, my name is Sharon. I am the owner and broker of record for Horizon Lending Services. Today I'm very pleased to introduce you to area and market.
Well, I think it goes back to, you're gaining trust on your professional opinion and what value you can bring to that seller.
Really does. Which brings me around to the trust that our respective clients have in us, Eric. So talk to me about what you have seen. How do you build trust and build a rapport with your potential clients? Tell me about how you build that trust, because trust seems to be a real factor right now. Like, who do they use? Why do they use you? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, trust is a big piece to to what we do.
Yes.
Right? If they don't trust you, then how are they going to trust you with one of the biggest purchases of their lives? Absolutely. Right? And so biggest piece is knowing your market, right? Knowing where you're going to take that client or where you're going to take that listing and how it applies to what's going on around it. Is so crucial to what we do. It's knowing their wants and needs. So listening, right? So you have to listen to your clients and you have to know what they are wanting and what their needs are. And so I think we get caught up in the sale of, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, but you have to listen to your needs of your clients, and I think that goes a long ways, right? Like you treat them as you would treat your best friend or your family member, and that resonates, and that hopefully returns in referrals and previous post business. So
we have the same thing in our business. It's like, because being in the lending industry, you have banks, you have credit unions, you have bankers. I mean, you have so many opportunities out there for loans. But the number one reason that I get why people don't go with them, they choose a broker, like my firm. I'm not harping on my firm, but it's like, it's all about relationships. It's like, because we stop, we listen, and we understand where where the fear is,
right.
What are you afraid, talk to me about what you're afraid is going to happen, or what is your worst nightmare, and how can we overcome that? And I think all too often people are talking and they're not listening.
Sure.
I think that's the number one reason why we get to know people so well, is that I understand about your finances, and we have to dive into that. But tell me about you. Tell me about your family. Tell me, what you're wanting to do. Tell me about your objectives. What you're trying to accomplish. And I would assume that you guys do the same thing, an interview process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, like, when you break down again their wants and needs, and you're having a conversation, like you would with your friend, they want to open up more to you, and they want to they trust you more if they feel like they can open up to you.
Like, I'm trying to sell them something.
Right, correct. So I think that when you take the sales part away from it, for sure, that you're truly there to help them and give them the best advice, because you're knowledgeable of the market that you're in. It's going to produce tenfold later on. I mean, it's funny, because my wife, she laughs about it, because I get invitations to birthdays from clients, and I get all these different things that hey, come, let's go do this, or let's go do that. She's like,
you're just a real estate agent. Right. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
But I love that, and I think that it shows that you've done a great job, because they feel like they can incorporate you into their everyday life and into their family.
You're an extension of their family.
Correct.
I love that.
I had a client. She used to call me her son, because she was, I helped them get the mom and dad got a home, turned around, and I helped her daughter get a home.
Wow.
And then I turned around
and that speaks volumes.
Right. Sold their house that I originally got for the parents and got them a new home, and was able to help them with some of the commercial real estate that they were doing. So it again, they felt like I was family, and it showed. And I think that's a lot of, not saying you have to be friends with everybody you work with, but
it really does help.
You need to have some line of trust and communicate that you are listening to them to be successful.
It's kind of interesting. My processor, when we're in the same office, and that does not happen very often, but she'll say, "Oh my God, Sharon, I hear you talking. You're like a counselor. You're like a marriage, a marriage counselor. You give all these different advice on all these things, but I don't hear you talk too much about the business." It's like, well, that's not intentional, but I just have this aura about me saying it's a safe place to be in.
Right.
And if you need to talk about something that's going on with your family or your husband or your extended family, it's okay to talk about it. And I think it just says volumes, because people are okay with giving you their business and opening up about their family, just like what you were saying. So we have the same thing over here.
Yeah, and I think it helps in most of the stuff we do. And we've always had the clients where they're strictly business. Like they just want to know, give me the numbers, give me the facts. And we'll move on, which is fine.
Yeah.
But in all this and trust, I think still builds in those type of people that just want the facts and just want to keep moving. But everybody has a lender, everybody has a realtor, and there's hundreds and thousands of lenders and realtors that are right behind you. So again, you have to take that with some pride that, okay, if you're getting the opportunity to get the business, you need to make sure that you cultivate that relationship, and so that somebody else doesn't get it, right?
And this is not to say that it's a form of manipulation. We're not trying to befriend people to gain their business, but it's just, you seem to be a really down-to-earth person. I think I am, but we just inherently want to nurture people, and I think that goes a long ways in our industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Eric, I know with my company, like we give a lot back, like at Christmas time, like especially like back to school, we do a backpack organization. Like, we encourage our staff and our the people that we've done business with to donate backpacks, and those backpacks we give over to underprivileged children in Collin County, specifically either in Salina or Prosper. And so we also at Christmas time we do the same thing. I go to the principals at schools and ask them, who is a child that may be in need, that may not be able to celebrate Christmas because of a lost parent or because of financial implications. That's something that we take great pride in, and we do that because it's the right thing to do. And so I grew up, I didn't come from a affluent family, but I wasn't poor. So I know personally what it's like to have somebody reach out and say, you don't have to be the person showing up without something that the other kids have.
Right.
So it's really important to my company and to me personally. So talk to me a little bit about, do you have plans for doing something like that? Or what kind of philanthropic work are you doing or wanting to do?
Yeah, I mean, so going back to the golf tournament I used to do in Florida, right? Like, so the big piece that we used to do in the organization we used to attract ourselves to was called On Bikes. Mm-hmm. And so On Bikes, what they would do is they wholesaled the bikes, brought them in, and they would do bike builds for whatever company would want to.
Interesting, yeah.
Basically, they would get the donation from the company, have the company come in and build the bikes with kids. So they would bring these kids from less fortunate families and less fortunate areas. They bring them in. The kids would help build the bikes, and then in turn, at the end, we would hand the bikes to them.
Oh wow!
So
they didn't know that the bikes.
They didn't know that they just thought that these were bikes that they were helping for other kids.
Heartstrings.
Yeah. So I love that idea, and so we donated our proceeds from the golf tournament to On Bikes, because they were, these are bikes that are going to, again, less fortunate kids. They would even give them to the fire departments and the police department so that they could bring them to. Do
they have a chapter here in Texas?
So it was local. So that's my idea, is finding something on the lines of that, or even I love your contributions already with what you're doing there. It's great, but something like that would be fantastic. And I know that's something that I want to get involved with myself, my team, my family.
Oh, I would totally support that.
To get back, whether it be a bike or a book bag full of stuff that people actually need, that would be great. We actually, in a church in Tampa, we used to kind of do the same thing, where it's always uneasy sometimes when you see somebody knocking on the window at the light asking for money.
Yeah.
But it's so much easier when you have a book bag full of stuff where you can say, hey, I don't have money, but here is some supplies for you.
That'd be a good idea, like socks or maybe like
It was socks, blankets. Yep. So
water.
we did
That's a good
a
idea.
lot of things like that. So I think that would be a great idea, is to have some donation pieces like that, to where you could, instead of, again, handing money.
Oh my God, that's a really good idea. So you're not handing money, you're handing supplies that.
It's funny because my wife, she always says sorry at the end of the month, because she's like, yeah, I gave to 2 or 3 dog charities this month, or I continue to, and that's just her. Like, if she could take in every single homeless dog or every dog from the Humane Society, I would be in very big trouble, because she would do it.
Oh my God.
And so
it's kind of interesting because when I was in Nacogdoches, which is where I did my undergraduate studies, I volunteered for the shelter down there, which is a bad mistake.
Yeah.
And so I have a very soft spot, but yet angry spot for animals that have been thrown out. And so it was really bad because I was living in an apartment, sometimes a dorm in college. But I remember I did that just because I wanted to, because I love pets, but I couldn't have them. So I thought that would be a way to get my fix. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
It was a way to understand that people are assholes.
They're cruel.
And they throw pets out like they're used tissue. And so kudos to your wife.
Yeah.
I've always had like the schools around Collin County, they've always been very receptive. So I talk to the principals or the counselors and just ask the question, what do you see a need this year in? And we had one year where they were needing, running track shoes. And so we just got a list of, the people without embarrassing the children. And it was just kind of like they were doing it, on the down low, which is the way it should be.
Yeah.
And so that was a really good opportunity too. And you really feel like you're doing something and that you're just not throwing money at a situation. Because I'm not a big company philanthropist, because I think that a lot of the money gets absorbed by upper management.
Mm-hmm.
By the time, I may not agree with where the money is being spent, but I think if we could all stick to something very local and really help the children that need to be helped, I'm all about that. And I love your bike idea.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
We'll have to connect. We'll have to do something, because I think it's always, and not to gloat about it, right? It's never to tell everybody about it, but as in our profession, we touch so many people in the community, and for me, I want to talk to as many people as I can, right? Absolutely. And so if you can influence and help the community that you work in, I think it'll pay it forward in some other way in our industry.
Absolutely.
But it's the right thing to do.
We used to go to the Prosper Fire Department, and we used to ask them, because they know a lot of people. Like, people can drop off children, they can drop off, pets. The fire department has so many connections. It's like, I kid you not, like every other Friday, I take a basket full of. There's a little kolache shop up on Preston. If you go there, they close at 2. If you go there at 1:55. All of their product that they have in their shelves that's left over, do you know they throw that out?
That's great.
They are not allowed from, all the rules and restrictions that they have. They can't resell it. They can't leave it over. They can't give it to a shelter because it's a food product.
Right.
But if you go there, they will gladly give you everything they have left over. So I go there and I get all these things that are left over and I take it to the fire department.
Oh, that's awesome.
They absolutely love it. I didn't have to pay anything. It takes about maybe 30 minutes of my time going up there, grabbing it, bringing it back. I'm telling you, they love it. You got donuts, kolaches, you got all kinds of pastries. So if you'll call your local Panera and tell them, when do you give, I didn't know this either, someone told me, but they give, because they know how I like to do stuff like this. So they put it all on a little shelf outside of their kitchen, and it just says, "In today's stuff."
Oh, wow.
And it's got pastries and breads and all kinds of goodies out there.
I had no clue.
Well, most people don't. So if you just call your local Panera and say, when did you shelf your stuff that you didn't sell for the day? I'd like to come by and pick them up because I'm working with a nonprofit or something.
Right.
And they'll be happy to save it for you. It's incredible. There's so many opportunities that food goes to waste, that if we just give a little bit of an effort, that it's amazing what we can do. Yeah,
and you guys are not in shortage of donut shops.
Oh my God.
In North Dallas.
We do like our donuts.
Well, it's funny because you look at wherever there's a donut shop, there's a dentist right next to it. I'm telling you, like there's something to it.
Maybe the dentist owns a donut shop.
It could be.